Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Gregs coming to you on the 7th of April, 2021. Time on deck, 1200 hours Central Daylight Time. Now, what is the game that China's up to with Taiwan? What is happening with Taiwan? Why are they doing these flights? What is the real strategy here in terms of vis-a-vis, do they invade? Are they trying to wear Taiwan down? Now, bear in mind, there are two Chinas. Both Taiwan and China are China, but they're two separate Chinas, yet two separate nations. Even though mainland China, the People's Republic of China, does not recognize the existence of their predecessor nation, the Republic of China, which they ran out of mainland and put into exile on the island of Formosa. Yes, the Republic of China predated and existed before the insurgency of the People's Republic of China ran them out and put them in exile. So yes, there are two Chinas. They're both Chinese people. The people in Taiwan have the luxury of freedom, which they very much enjoy and want to defend, and we'll be into that. The people in mainland China, well, they're living with a jack boot on their neck. So we'll talk about what's the strategy, what is going on. As you may know, today, this very day, Wednesday, 7 April 2021, the People's Republic of China's People's Liberation Army sent 15 military aircraft around Taiwan. Once again, they're constantly doing this. So what is their game plan? What are they really up to? That's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about here. And there may be a surprise in this for you. So I'll bring this video to you in the spirit of keeping your eyes wide open and head on a swivel. And our affectionate refer to many of my followers as swivel heads because you are aware. And as the Propositionist channel, keep you aware so that you prepare. And actually, that's what I tell you to do with the Propositionist channel, is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. That all fits together, right? So I'll bring you many videos on many topics. I just posted a video on worm farming. People keep asking for those videos, but they ain't performing so well. So if you want to see more worm videos, watch them, please. Now, I also bring you videos on gardening, how to eat from the weeds and trees. I've even did videos on shopping at the big box stores. But it's things to help you know how to survive and thrive. I talked to you about this, and we're going to talk more about prepping in the days ahead. I did a few bug out videos, I think really good bug out videos. I've talked about wild medicinals, eating from the weeds and trees, which are free. But I bring you a lot of content like this because there's so much going on in the world. I've been asked recently, Greg, when are you covering these other countries? What about here? Don't you love your country? Yeah, I've actually covered things in this country too. I've talked about the prospects for civil war and a lot of the other things going on here at home. And there will be more topics about that in the future. But these other things affect us too, because they could drag us into conflict. And even if they don't, they could definitely wreck the world economy. These are all things that should be very sensitive to preppers. But if we get a WWIII, holy smoke, my friends, some of these countries would like to put our lights out to put us in a grid down situation. And not to mention attacks on our homeland, attacks on our forces. A lot of us have friends and family that are in the armed forces. And so we get concerned about these people. So there's a whole lot riding here. Not to mention even a limited nuclear exchange between countries like India and Pakistan would affect the climate worldwide with all the dust that would go up into the atmosphere. So these are not isolated events. It's not just that over there. They all affect us here. They affect our global economy. So, yeah, I was just challenged on that recently, so I just thought I'd say on that. All right, I shouldn't digress. Oh, I'm going to do one little shameless plug real quick before we launch into our video. I do have a special to help you prep and prepare. Guys, for 3 months supply of this, which are 6 of these buckets, you can have $200 off. Yes, 200 smackaronis, and you get 6 of these buckets. Each bucket is 2 weeks supply. 6 of them, $200 off. This is 25-year long-lasting food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With this deal, you'll be a winner. And you can get $50 off for a month supply. So there you go. Kind of hard to beat, especially if you have to trek out on your feet, because you can put this stuff in your backpack. That's lightweight. So that's 4 servings right there. A lot easier to carry than some of the other larger packages I see from other companies. Hey, These guys at My Patriot Supply are simply the best. To get this great deal, they'll go to prepwithgreg.com, prepwithgreg.com, and you can also click on the My Patriot Supply logo and find all kind of prep supplies on their website. So if you go to prepwithgreg.com, you get special deals. It'll help me and it'll help you. So there, enough said on that. So let's talk again about this thing with Taiwan and China. I'm going to talk a little bit before I go on the websites, because a little bit I got to talk about. It's not covered in my current articles I'm looking at. I've sent some time back. One philosophy is that what's going on is called hybrid warfare. And it's the type of what the reference here is to the idea that China is just, when I say China, I'm talking about the People's Republic of China, mainland China in this case. Oh, by the way, there's good people in every country, every city, hamlet, by every race, creed, and culture. There's good and bad people everywhere. It's the governments that are the key issue in these areas. And people living under tyranny have less ability to reject the way their governments run and what they do. We have a lot to say about it here too, right? But they're even less so in those places. So trust me when I say that there's good people everywhere. I'm just throwing this out as a disclaimer. So don't be reacting against Asian people you see on the streets, because for one, they might be from Taiwan, which is opposed to the People's Republic of China. There's Chinese people from Indonesia. There are many other Asiatic peoples that you might get confused with. So and people, and I know there's good people in mainland China too. I've met some. So just chill out, guys. Now let's get into this though. Let's talk about it. So this hybrid warfare concept is a concept for wearing the enemy down, just flat wear them down, scaring them, making them think you're about to do something where you intend to or not. Now, there's those that think that China will not hit Taiwan, at least not anytime soon, and some think that they're about to hit them. And so there's countervailing arguments on both sides. On the side of not hitting them is this discussion that it's going to be hard to hit them. I mean, let's face it. The Chinese landing forces got to cross the Strait of Formosa. That's the strait between mainland China and the island of Formosa, or also known as the island of Taiwan. The Strait of Formosa, it tends to be about 180 kilometers or 110 miles wide. At its most narrow point, it is something like 130 kilometers or 81 miles. So basically, it's going to take 7 or 8 hours for the landing forces to come from mainland China to Taiwan. And Taiwan's going to see them coming well before they get there. And Taiwan does have a lot of missiles. So, and those guys are going to be kind of like ducks in a bucket, more or less, like a tub, like shooting ducks in a bucket or a tub. You've heard those kind of analogies. So they will be vulnerable en route. That's why I said this thing wouldn't happen before March, because the sea state in the winter is just too rough, especially over that distance, and they're being targeted. So, of course, China would lay down a lot of use their air power to be attacking first before they tried to do this, most likely to suppress any launching and any attacks of their landing force. But, mainland China just can't sneak up on them. And here's another thing. Taiwan's very mountainous terrain. It's hard to negotiate, but even more so the beaches. There's only just a very few places that are worthy of a landing party. Most of it is not really accessible for a landing party. So China has the Taiwan has the advantage, homeland advantage, basically, of being even though their military is a lot smaller, they have smaller area to operate in. They can concentrate their forces to where it's needed the most. It reminds me of the 300 that held off the vast horde from Persia back during the wars between the Greeks and the Persians. Well, they held them off for a while. And then there's the stories, such things as there was like 45 Confederates that held off a landing force of something like 25,000 or some crazy number. And I believe it was Corpus Christi. It might have been Galveston. I have to go back and research that again. You often have smaller forces holding off large forces, especially when they have a homeland advantage. So Taiwan does have that. They got that homeland advantage. It's tough terrain, and the people there are willing to fight to the last man, according to what I'm reading right now. They very much don't want to be dominated by the People's Republic of China. They like their freedom, unlike some other people who don't understand the difference between the systems. And the People's Republic of China, they're liking it. And they have a freely elected government. So, but this hybrid strategy is to wear these guys down, just to keep on and keeping on and keeping on, to make them feel like they're just about to get it and they can't defend themselves, just to wear them down, have them spend their money as much as they can, running sorties, come up and matching the guys. And that's one thing that is happening. They're having to spend a lot of money. Every time China puts out a flight around Taiwan, it's just pennies on the dollar for China, because their budget and their economy is so much bigger than Taiwan's. Taiwan's got to really put it out there, and it's fatigue on the men and materials, the weapon systems of the planes. It's a lot of fatigue on them to be constantly running the sorties to meet the Chinese forces when they come in, and it also shakes their confidence. At least that's the theory. Although right now Taiwan seems to be getting a little bit more resolute, so that part might not be working. So it was the hope, apparently, according to this strategy, or the idea, the philosophy of the strategy, that if mainland China just keeps running this pressure and keep up in the pressure, they don't actually have to cross the threshold into war, but they could get Taiwan at some point to capitulate, especially if they could get the United States balled up in other things. And I covered a video just last week, I believe it was, about how China could get the United States so wrapped up in so many other things that could essentially take us out. And then China could go for their prize of Taiwan, theoretically. Now, they are definitely up in the pressure. Now, of course, on the other argument is that's what they would do before they would invade, just to wear the other guys down so that when they do invade, they're weaker. So there you go. So just because there's this philosophy that it's a hybrid warfare doesn't mean that it will continue to exist in that state in perpetuity. And that word sometimes. So the state of affairs are that we do know they are increasing this pressure. And there's some other reasons why other people think that this is going to happen soon. One is that Taiwan's air defense systems are a little bit weak right now. So, and they don't have a lot of other systems that they're just now ordering and putting in requisition. And they just realized that what kind of threat they're under. Well, they always knew, but it's really become very apparent to them now that China is running continuous sorties around them. And so they're planning to up their defenses to become more and more of a porcupine to make it harder and harder for somebody to take a bite out of them. And so, and as time goes on, Taiwan would be stronger. So right now they're kind of at a weak point. At the same time, China's building up. And there's some other reasons that I've talked about earlier, demographically, why over time China just may lose steam, because the Chinese population is actually aging very fast. It's the fastest aging population in the world, apparently. So they've got a limited time. Not to mention Xi Jinping would like to have it on his nameplate. But hey, he was a man that took Taiwan. Taiwan's quite a prize to him. I can show you that in a little bit, why Taiwan is such a prized asset if they could take it. On the other hand, if they fail, if China goes in and gets their nose bloodied really good and fails, the People's Republic of China could indeed fall, because they would have so much egg on their face at home, because they have built this up. Another reason they may go in is just that they have built this up psychologically within their home country, that, hey, this is ours, this is our people, this is our land. They're a renegade republic, a renegade province, it's ours, and we got to take it. They play that up so much that they may have painted themselves into a corner where they would almost need to do something. That's another philosophy out there. Now, I'm not using my crystal ball here. I'm not saying what it's going to be. I'm just saying here's the things that are in play, some of the considerations that may determine whether or not China actually invades Taiwan. Then there's, do we get involved, and what does it do for us? And right now we're stepping up the protection of Taiwan, so it seems. But no one really knows where the United States will fall when the balloon goes up. But this is the tensions are going out the ceiling. So back to this strategy of which way it goes. So as I said, Taiwan, if they beat the Chinese, or at least in terms of not getting invaded or dominated, then China goes home with a bloody nose. Now, see what happens if China comes in and just loses lots and lots and lots of forces. All these Chinese soldiers are the sons usually of a family that only had one kid. Suddenly, when a lot of mamas are losing their kids, and it's the only kid they had, things aren't going to be happy back at home in mainland China. You know, it is a authoritarian system. Even authoritarian systems have their limits, and you start getting a whole lot of parents mad, especially from the defense side, from the armed forces side. Maybe the armed forces may not like it at a certain point. They may rebel. If the armed forces rebel, it's over. PRC, People's Republic of China, at least the CCP part, maybe bye-bye at that point. You know, they may just say, no, you've launched us in a bridge too far here. That could happen. And that may be the hope, is that if they do choose to invade, and if they do choose to invade, there's other things that may happen. Even if they land, if they manage to get a landing, the Taiwanese are going to keep fighting from the streets. And it just may get too bloody for the People's Republic of China to go in to take the Republic of China, possibly on their own home turf. Might just be too costly for them. Well, we don't know yet. We just don't know. How will the United States play into it? What will the U.S. do? That's ambiguous right now, very ambiguous. So with that, I'm going to go through a spate of articles here. I'll share them with you real quick. I won't spend as much time in the articles today. We're going to show you a map first, though. I'm going to show you again. We've talked about this before, but why is Taiwan such a prize? Well, this is called the first island chain. And there's other island chains out through here, but the first island chain is something that the People's Republic of China would definitely love to dominate. Of course, South Korea and Japan are inside this. But, you know, as I already mentioned, and how their strategy to take America out, how they think they might be able to mollify that and switch them over. But what is, at least within the Chinese, this is also why the Chinese are after the Senkaku Islands here. And look here. See, this is in the economic zone, exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, Indonesia, South Vietnam, Malaysia. But look here. China has declared this to be theirs. Have they not? They've gone all the way down here into the first island chain. Why? Strategic purposes. They said that when they were building those islands, they were doing for commercial purposes. Then they built them out as military bases, which, you know, do you believe the Chinese Communist Party, if you've been banking on believing them, you're losing. But what is in the middle of it? Right here, Taiwan. And right now, Taiwan is a big chink in their armor, because right now there's an island here that is opposed to them. And that doesn't set too well with them. On the other hand, if they had Taiwan, they would have an immense, unsinkable, almost undefeatable base from which to project their strength outwards. So as long as Taiwan is not in their hands are a lot weaker. If they could get Taiwan, holy smoke, they would be far more aggressive. They could do far more power projection. They would like to totally close these sea lanes off. See, from a strategic point, this is where all the trade goes to. It supports China, Japan, South Korea, of course, Taiwan, and much of these other nations here. This is a huge amount of trade that goes through right up through here. Of course, India might have something to say about it at that point in time. So we'll have to see how that plays in. But there's just a whole lot of things. There's vast resources of oil, natural gas, fish, and such in this area within these exclusive economic zones of these other countries that China has basically just run roughshod over. So China's been very aggressive in this area. And they may get aggressive here too, because this would complete their little necklace right here of the first island chain, the first perimeter of defense. See, by having a perimeter defense out here, it's harder for us to attack and fly sorties in the way we did like in Iraq, because it's harder, it's a farther reach. It gets harder to do, especially if they got really good air defense out here. It means we'd have to stand off somewhere out here in order to try to fly into here. It'd be very difficult to fly sorties in and launch meaningful attacks on China at that point, which also makes it easier for them to project power. So there's many dimensions to this, but this is the chink in their armor, which if they had it would be their main spear tip. You know, they could then really turn this over. So it'd be a huge win to them if they had this, but trying to take it could cost them their existence in terms of a political entity. And you got to remember, these political entities, their primary objective is not their own people. It's the continuation of their political entity. Don't forget that. That is the real objective of a party like the Chinese Communist Party. It's not the people of the People's Republic of China. It's the party. They will waste their own people to preserve their party if they can. If that's what was required. So, and that's the way it always is with dictatorships. Dictatorships always look to preserve themselves and their power first and foremost. All right, enough said about that. Bing. Details. China sends more jets. Taiwan says it will fight to the end if there's war. To the end. Yeah. So once again, into the exclusive, into the Chinese air defense identification zone. 15 Chinese aircraft, 12 fighters entered it today. And so I just want to show you this. From my limited understanding of American decision makers watching developments in this region, we clearly see the danger of possibility of China launching an attack. Yeah, so the window for China may be closing. That may be all the more reason that they actually would attack now. And some of the buildup and increase in activities, it's very suggestive of an actual attack. Will it be feigned or real? See, therein lies the miscommunication, misperception problem that I talked about when I said, will we actually accidentally stumble into war? That's not a joke. That's not a joke. And, you know, irregardless of who's president, if Navy loses an aircraft carrier, the Navy's going to want war. That president is going to get an earful if you don't go along with it. Now, we know that we did have a president fire General MacArthur. So president is in charge to somewhat. somewhat. So what the Taiwanese said here, and let me come back up here. This was stated by Mr. Taiwan Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. We are willing to defend ourselves without any question, and we will fight the war if we need to fight the war. And if we need to defend ourselves to the very last day, we will defend ourselves to the very last day. A little bit repetitive there, but you know, hey, redundancy means they really mean it. Yeah. And the United States has expressed concern about China's movements and said its commitment to Taiwan is rock solid. Well, what does that mean? But so you got to also realize there's been a lot going on. When these 15 military aircraft were flying around Taiwan, we also had a warship there in the strait. And there was also apparently the Chinese carrier was coming back through there, apparently maybe on its way to the South China Sea. And what's down in the South China Sea, my friends? It's these islands down here, the White Sun Reef that that has, you know, over 200 ships guarding it from China that the Philippines are really putting in a lot of protest over. So apparently that aircraft carrier is heading back in this way, and we have an aircraft carrier there too. So could that signal, you know, maybe there'd be a concerted effort between Russia and Ukraine and China. So that's another reason I cover such things as the Ukraine. If something happens there, it might mean other things happen elsewhere. Suddenly, you know, we get totally distracted by so many things going on. It may be like information overload. But we have more vested interest in this region than we do in Ukraine, actually. Just from the world of trade, we actually have alliances. We have treaties to defend Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea. We have treaties with these organizations, and we have an understanding with Taiwan. Not a treaty per se, but there's legislation that says that we will take care of Taiwan, at least in terms of supplying them defense stuff. And of course, we want Taiwan to be a porcupine, as it says here. And Wu said Taiwan is determined to improve its military capacities to spend more on defense. They recognize that they're a little behind. They don't have enough quills in that porcupine right now. And therein lies the problem, why they think they might be temporarily vulnerable. So I'm not reading these articles per se. I might pick and choose a few things to read from them. And this talks about China tracking U.S. warship. So, as our warship goes through, China says, yeah, we tracked it. And that's no surprise, of course. China's military confirmed that it tracked the U.S. warship as it traversed the Taiwan Strait on Wednesday, a move the U.S. described as a routine freedom of navigation exercise. So there you go. There we go, my friends. They're tracking our ships, plus they're flying all those planes over the same area at the same time. So this is a very testy situation. And here, Taiwan has just came according to Hindustan Times and it says, hey, you put drones around these other islands we claim, we're going to shoot the drones down. I'm going to shoot down the man aircraft. We're talking about shooting the drones down. Hey, China, we're going to take out your drones. I might do a special on drones really soon, maybe a couple of them. That's the future of warfare. But here's something else. China's looking to start building up their ground defenses within China. And this article suggests that them having tanks could throw a spanner wrench into the Chinese invasion plans. And many other articles out here on this. I'm not going to read them all. I'm not even going to go through them all. We're going to stop this right now. Maybe we should come back here. Look at that, guys. This is what we're talking about right here. This region is very much in contest. So stop the share. So while I go into this, while I cover this, once again, we can get pulled into it, easily get pulled into it. Should we get pulled into it? There's another whole question, but do bear in mind, we do have treaties with Japan, South Korea, and with, and in fact, in South Korea, that warfare between North and South Korea is just at a stalemate. The armistice there just put it in stalemate. That war is still officially exists. And of course, the Philippines. The Philippines at one time was a territory of the United States. And MacArthur saying, I shall return. And he did. When he got ran out by the Japanese because they didn't have enough defense forces in the Philippines back then. Well, they came back and took it, as he promised. And of course, then he became governor of Japan for a while. Then he went up to North Korea and drove the forces. It was driving forces North Korea into China. He wanted to go further, and he got fired for that. Like I said, sometimes the best, strongest military guys do run across the president in the wrong way. That's what happened here. When an aircraft carrier gets sunk, can an aircraft carrier get sunk? Well, time shall tell. How good are our boys against what China's throwing up? China has the biggest navy in the world right now. But nothing, their aircraft carriers aren't as big as ours. Their task force aren't as big as ours. Their data integration and data fusion isn't quite as good as ours, but they have a lot of anti-aircraft type missiles. They call it aircraft sinkers. They also have island sinkers, or whatever they call them, the same missiles. They got the DF-17, the DF-21 to be attacking our aircraft carriers, to be attacking islands like Guam, which is U.S. territory. We have territory in that region. The people in Guam are U.S. citizens. So there's a lot at stake here, a lot at stake. We have a lot of military bases. We have a military base on Oakland, Iowa, and this is where their aircraft carrier just sailed around. We have a lot at stake here, a lot at stake. A lot of trade with all these countries, including China. And maybe one of the best things we could do is quit trading so much with China. All we're doing is fueling their military. So vote with your dollar, vote local, buy local. That's one of the best things you can do. It's better for the environment. It's better for you. It's better for your community, especially for buying food. And stuff you get from China, so much of that stuff is so contaminated. Even the metals and stuff you buy, sheetrock that had carcinogens or was radioactive. I don't know. There was some radioactive forks and spoons. And there's all kind of nasty stuff here. So, and did they do it on purpose, or is it just they didn't care? Bad quality control. you know. And I heard horror stories about some of the meat they sold here. So I won't go into all that. But my friends, we need to think about these things, and we need to think about legislation that says that they shouldn't, they shouldn't be buying stuff in America. They're trying to take over stuff in every congressional district to be able to control the pockets of people running every one of our congressional districts. They want to take our Congress from us. That's what was in that plan, that secret plan that I detailed the other day. They're really wanting to take our Congress from us. So it's in our interest not to let that happen. It's in our interest to basically boycott them and their companies. Like our other friend just bought a couple of Smithfield hams. And what did she do? No, she went to buy a couple of hams. She did not buy Smithfield because Smithfield is owned by the People's Republic of China. So this is a conflict I wish we didn't have to face, because in an ideal world, it'd be nice if we get good, not have to have all these big nation states, because people are more and more wanting to localize, to identify with, their own, cultures, their own local cultures. And so it's kind of a balkanization. Governments are breaking up all over the world. That's the trend that that's where people are wanting to go. And that's a good trend. We got too much power in nations, and we don't need to aggregate that power even higher up to the big international aggregation, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And as I said, race, color, creed, religion, don't let those be your judgmental factors, because there's good people in every one of these categories in every village and hamlet on earth. What counts is the heart. What counts is right here. It's how a person treats their fellow man. There are good people everywhere you go, but the governments, they be corrupt. And the more totalitarian they are, the more corrupt they are. All governments are corrupt. Let me just say, a lot of people say, "Oh, great, the United States did this, United States did that, so it's their turn." Oh, well, our government is corrupt, but some of these other governments, look what they're doing to Uyghurs and so forth. You don't want that. You don't want that. So hopefully we got a chance to turn some things around, and that's what we're working on. That's why I got the Freedom Restoration Foundation, freedomrestorationfoundation.org. Go there, check it out. If you want to be a member, email us. We're not charging dues as of yet. I'm paying for everything out of my own pocket at the moment. There's probably a limitation to how far that'll go, but info@freedomrestorationfoundation.org. And if you want to join the Survival Tribe network that we're working up, put tribes in the subject line, same email address, info@freedomrestorationfoundation.org. If you want to join the foundation, put freedom in the subject line. So with all that said, like I said, there's good people everywhere. I want to give a shout out to my friend Brenda Polito in Mexico. She's she's an interesting lady and done a lot of aerospace work, professional writer down there. So I just give her a shout out. All right. So once again, we can make this world a better place. We absolutely can. We shouldn't give up. Just like the Taiwanese, who said they'll fight to the very last man. You don't give up. Just, when we look at the world, it's coming at us from every single direction. And it's kind of like that. And this is how I'm ending up this video. I'm bringing it all back together now. It's kind of like that strategy of hybrid warfare. They're trying to wear us down from every direction. Freedom is what counts. It's the ability to have the freedom to raise your family, your children, in a free society where we can associate as we choose, love, care for each other without the government telling us how to do every little thing we do. That's not what we need. But we need to be nice to each other. But the way to win is through the heart more than anything. Because as darkness is dispelled by light, hate is dispelled by love. So I always tell you to go out and be the love light. Shine your love light to the world. That is a big solution. Spend your money local. Vote with your dollars. and vote for things you believe in with your dollars or whatever currency you have. How many watchers from all over the world? So do that. Help your friends, your neighbors, form communities, survival communities, because we got a lot of stuff coming at us. Do everything you can. Grow your own food. Growing your own food is a very important thing. You also support me at True Leaf Market. Check my links in my videos. You know, buy the seeds that you need to grow your own food. But grow your own. Become independent, not dependent. You know, they want to take all your independence away from you. Well, so you be totally subservient to them, but then you're totally baseless. Now you don't have any legs to stand on. What is that like all at once when you have absolutely no leg to stand on? Then they start dictating to you. You have no choice then. That's why we need freedom restoration. All right. So, you know, we mean well here. We mean good. I would like to see everybody in the world prosper. I would like to see people in mainland China prosper, but not where their prosperity is counted by conquest of other people. And I've covered many times, nobody, no one has the right to dominate or oppress another people. No one has the right to say, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine, you know, because you're inside our borders. No, it does not exist. That's what I call the obsession, possession obsession, the possession obsession. I did several videos on that. So I believe in independence for everyone. I believe in freedom for everyone. I believe everyone in this world should have economic opportunity. And if China were a free and open society, holy smoke, they could accomplish many, many great things, and we could all do it arm in arm in this world and work together and live together in harmony. If we could just get out of this mode of all these people who play power politics against each other. But right now we have we've got some leaders in the world that we just can't ignore them, like Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and our own presidents. We just can't ignore these people. We can't ignore Joe Biden. We can't ignore any of these people, because they all would steal our freedoms if we allowed them to. Again, freedomrestorationfoundation.org. So, my friends, what I'm going to say, be the love light. Go out and shine your love light into the world. And let's make this world a better place. So I know you watch this long. So, Greg, I'll do what I can to make this world a better place. And thank you for watching.